This episode of Grilled is sponsored by Rationale, your leading provider in multifunctional hot food preparation equipment. Register now for a free Rationale live demo at www.rationale-online.com.
The Staff Canteen now has its own shop, so you can get your hands on as much merch as you want. From mugs, t-shirts to these hoodies, which you'll see myself and any of the guests on our podcast wearing throughout. Go and take a look. The link is below, and please do give us a thumbs up if you do decide to purchase anything. Finally, we are giving away one hoodie per episode for the next 6 episodes. You can find out how to win at the end of this podcast.
Thank you for listening to Grilled, the Staff Canteen podcast. Cara has asked me to let everybody know that these podcasts may contain some swearing, some explicit language, and some topics not for the faint-hearted. No offence is intended, and please listen at your own discretion.
Welcome to Grilled.
I want to eat under roast whenever I want to eat under roast, not when you want me to eat it.
I just remember Brad's smell of his beard. You just had the biggest, fluffiest beard, and I was like, God, he smells so good. I don't know why, it's weird. Sometimes you put smell or something to it, and I just remember that. Well, it's a bit bizarre.
Why are you in your chef's white cellar? You're working.
I'm cooking burgers.
Oh, burgers. I hope they're not McDonald's.
And I just lash it all over the hot toast as it melts and quickly munch it up, crunchy, crunchy, munchy.
Dying to get like a piece of your culinary penis in or around their mouth.
Welcome to Grilled, a podcast by the Staff Canteen. I'm Cara, editor of the Staff Canteen. Please do catch up on our past episodes if you get the chance. They are good fun. Go and have a listen. But this is the second episode with my co-host, Alex Claridge. Alex, you're back for round 2, so I didn't scare you off the first time.
Touch and go, but I'm back for more punishment, yeah.
So our next guest, do you want to give a little intro and tell us why you wanted them to be on the podcast?
Yeah, so our next guest is Georgia Sommerin, who has very ambitiously taken time out of, I believe, the second soft night of a new restaurant to be here. So for that alone, she deserves a medal. I think a lot of the time when we kind of talk to chefs, it's the same kind of circle of, those of us who are rapidly aging and have been doing this a while. But I actually think it's more interesting to kind of hear what the future of hospitality might look like. And I feel like Georgie is kind of just that, right? Already done things that, most of us have spent years and years doing. Great British Menu, the same season as me. So this is kind of a support group. But, going on to open a new family restaurant, having been a big part of restaurant James Sommerin, and obviously, surviving COVID with, all the challenge that comes with that, I thought it'd be interesting to get her take on all things to do with cooking, her story, and really the future of this sector that we all love and hate in equal measure.
Brilliant. So Georgia Sommerin, welcome to Grilled.
Thank you. It's great to be here. I'm excited to have a chat and just, get my point of view and talk a little bit more about everything that's gone on.
I'm glad you said excited. As you've met Alex before, I wasn't sure if you'd be more nervous and apprehensive, but sorry, Alex. Right, I've got a few icebreaker questions, so let's start with those. All you need to do is pick a number between 1 and 6, and I will give you the question that is associated with the number. Don't think about it too much. The first thing that pops into your head, Alex, that's more for you. Georgia, you go first.
Okay, number 4.
What is your most used emoji?
The smiley face sticking its tongue out.
Okay. Brilliant. What about you, Alex?
Lucky number 3, please.
What is your favourite item, it can be anything, that you have bought so far this year?
It's a new pair of trainers. I think that's a really shallow answer, but it's a new pair of trainers. And they don't really fit because I think my feet have shrunk during lockdown. But I'm too proud I need to be I need to be a size 10. I think I'm a size 9. I can't really wear them, but yes, it's a new pair of McQueen trainers.
Oh, nice. Nice.
So
Fancy.
I don't wear them. They just
You're that emoji.
look it up. Yeah, so they live on my shelf, and one day I'll wear them. Then they'll cut me to pieces, and I won't wear them for a bit. But you know, treat yourself.
You'll do that thing where you wear them, they really hurt, you put them away, and then you forget how much they hurt, and you think, oh no, they were fine.
That's it. Look, the thing is, like, because I want it to be like, oh, it's not really a possession, Cara, it's actually self-enlightenment. But when you're in the kitchen all the time, you don't really get a chance to wear anything interesting or exciting. And I don't know, for me, kind of like on, you know, that day off or 2 days off if you're lucky, actually making an effort and sort of getting to put on your glad rags, I don't know, it makes me feel more human.
I get that.
I agree.
I'm trying to justify myself in some sort of moral way.
I mean, I didn't ask you to justify the item. I just wanted to know what it was. Georgia, give me another number.
1, please.
What's the best piece of advice that you've ever been given?
Just to follow my heart, really. Make sure that I'm doing what I want to do and not what other people want me to do.
How easy is that?
I say it's easier said than done, but sometimes influence can be a little bit. But yeah, I try to stick by it.
Yeah, that's pretty good advice though. Alex.
Number 5, please.
What was your least favourite food as a child, and do you still hate it now?
Ham. I have a real issue with it. I don't even like having it in the kitchen. Like, you know, my sous chef loves to have like either ham sandwiches or ham quiche for breakfast, which I also think should be a red flag. That's not right. But I just bloody hate it. I think it's because when I was growing up, it was the age of like teddy bear ham or like dinosaur ham.
Oh, but that's not real ham, is it?
I don't enjoy when my meat has been crafted to look like something which it isn't. So yeah, ham.
Okay.
Still hate it. Still have some issues with it. Working through them.
you keep working on those. Georgia.
6.
Okay, so they say that you should never do this, but have you ever met your hero?
I haven't really got a hero to know. But
Brilliant.
My dad, I guess, would be my hero, but that's a bit
Oh,
cheating, isn't it?
Well, also, the advice falls down pretty hard with that particular set of circumstance, because not meeting your dad seems.
Well, I know, yeah, that would be a bit hard, wouldn't it?
Like, you're a hero, but I don't want to see you again. It's ruining it for me.
yeah. Okay. And final question, Alex. When you sorry.
Don't make me nervous.
Sorry. When you die, what do you want to be remembered for?
Don't really give a shit, to be honest. At that point, it seems irrelevant. I think, do you know what? I think, you know, to be remembered at all is probably sufficient. So yeah, you know, let's not put any expectations. If I set my goal as I just wish to be acknowledged that I existed once, then I feel I can achieve that.
I think that's definitely something to be written on the old tombstone, that to be remembered at all is definitely sufficient.
Yeah, any more than that.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you both for being good fun there. So shall we talk about Great British Menu first?
So obviously we both got to do children's literature, which was a wonderful brief and not at all frustrating or pointless. But how was your experience of Great British Menu?
Yeah, it was good. I found it quite difficult at first trying to come up with a menu based around children's literature. Took me a little while, but yeah, it was exciting, stressful, very stressful.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you're the youngest person to compete on that show.
Yeah, I was, yeah.
Why did you do that to yourself?
My dad was on it, so I feel like maybe there was a little bit of pressure to go on there and try it out. I just wanted to do something different, go out my comfort zone, really, because I'm quite I like my comfort space, so I wanted to push myself.
It will definitely do that for you. Do you feel like it? Because here's the question. I mean, I didn't. I didn't enjoy my time, and I also didn't prepare, which it turns out is a very, very poor set of decisions. I jest, but yeah, I was in the middle of basically one of my other businesses involved in. The same week I was filming, that was literally going under. So in the first course, I think I pretty much looked at what I had in my fridge and went full kind of ready, steady, cook, which didn't go wonderfully well. And then on the second course, Sally Arbe was like, this was inspired by Captain Hook and the codfish. And mine was inspired by death, which will find us all. And I realized at that point, I'd misjudged. What I would say is, in lots of little ways, I kind of feel like, I don't know, it gave me more of an insight and changed the way I then think about food and specifically, I guess, media and food, because it's definitely its own beast. Like, did you find that did it change you? Did it kind of give you a new insight and a way of looking at things, or was it?
Yeah, definitely. I actually felt because I was the first one knocked out, I was a mess after it. I felt so destroyed that I had to take a week off work. And then, yeah, but I would definitely say it's made me feel stronger as a chef. And maybe I don't put as much pressure on myself now. I try and relax a little bit and just enjoy what I do.
I've never really thought about the impact of being the first one out, because you just keep going with those who are going forward. So I never really realized that it would knock your confidence quite so much.
Similarly, like, I think, I had a good week where I was pretty much, I don't want to cook again. I'm going to kind of become a recluse, live in the woods. But you kind of get back on the horse, I guess. Would you do it again?
I would do it again, yeah, if they asked me back. I feel like I'd be more prepared next time. I know what to expect. Whereas the first time was just all too much too soon, I think. Yeah, no, for sure. Like, how did you find like the reception, like in terms of all the other chefs? Did you kind of find it supportive? Because obviously you had Mike with you, didn't you? But you also had Lisa Allen judge on the fish. Yeah, Lisa as well. Yeah, Lisa was they were both lovely, actually. Really, they gave good feedback, critical, but still helpful as well. So they weren't too harsh, even though they've got to be harsh. They were a good pair. Will any of your dishes be ever appearing on a menu, or have you done what I've done and taken the recipes and burnt them? My main course might appear on the new menu when we open, so that's the plan anyway. Yeah, like that, I sort of think, like, I don't know. So they changed the format, didn't they, for our year? So if you went out, you didn't get to do your main course. No. And I was so wounded because I don't know how you found it, but I found the main course like the easiest one. Yeah, I agree. Okay, I don't even allowed to, because obviously, it's part of the restaurant launch. But what was your main course going to be? It was going to be really simple, just a nice piece of sirloin beef with salsify, curry, date sauce, just really nice, rich, heavy main course, but nice and simple, but a few technical elements in there. I mean, it's exactly the sort of main course that you'd want to eat and then sort of lie down in a dark room. So I yeah, definitely. Nothing against that. Yeah, mine was based on Lord of the Rings. So I had a Deliveroo outfit reupholstered with Hobbit Roo, and I was going to send a chef in dressed as a Deliveroo driver to deliver like a wild boar kind of curry. And I think that was the hardest part. Do you know how much it hurts going into your spare room at home every day after you've failed at something and having to look at a Deliveroo outfit? Yeah. Which no one wants to buy. No one wants to buy a Hobbit-themed Deliveroo outfit. So, mine won't be on a menu, but if you use a Deliveroo outfit in any way with yours, I can send them. Maybe not. It was a tough pitch. So obviously, like, EPM happened, and then we kind of rolled straight into the world falling apart. Yeah. It was literally in the March then after.
Yeah, I mean, it was good, wasn't it? Because restaurants weren't open. So for those of us who didn't do very well, you could kind of just slide GBM under the
Yeah.
Right. But, you know, how, I mean, obviously, you know, Cara and I, and I'm sure many people watching will know that you guys had to make, you know, one of the eternally toughest choices in the world to kind of walk away from, you know, from a venue. Do you want to kind of, I don't know, share your experience of that what must have been a really hard and kind of crazy time?
Yeah, it was more my mum and dad's business. I just worked for them, but I watched them go through it. So it was really hard for them to give up something that they'd worked so hard to achieve. But the rent just was building up even more. And then we had the landlord and my dad had a disagreement, and therefore it was time to say goodbye. So yeah, that's the decision they made. But I think it's a better decision than a worse decision.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, what I really like though is that obviously, you know, both your dad and yourself didn't kind of just wallow in it, you know, because you did loads of things. Like obviously, you know, you did kind of the food boxes and those sort of things. Was there the kind of the idea for the new restaurant already kind of in the pipeline during lockdown, or is that sort of just now?
No, there was no new restaurant really. It was literally, we went into lockdown and we helped cook for the NHS, and then I think it was in the July that we left the restaurant. And then by the December, we had found new premises, and we were like, we want to get back to cooking, to what we're used to doing. And yeah, that was it really.
You must have good memories of restaurant James Sommerin though, because obviously that's where you've been with your dad for such a long time, right?
Yeah, I do have lots. It's where I fully went into the kitchen, but I started when he was at the Crown in the kitchen as like a Saturday job, just doing some pocket money. And then yeah, when I was 17, they had the restaurant, and I was like, oh, do I want to do it? And then yeah, the rest is history really.
So I suppose that's one of the things that I know I said before we set up this call, like, you know, one of the questions that I'm asking a lot, like, I don't know if it's the same for you guys, but hiring's pretty hard, you know, particularly younger staff who perhaps haven't come into the industry. Like, it's a tough time because they've watched the industry get ripped apart for a year, and then you're like, so would you like a job in this horrible like chaos? But obviously, you know, I guess you must have been very aware of the industry growing up, you know, with your dad having achieved what he achieved, and from the sounds of it, dipping your toe. But you chose to join, and I think that's like, you know, it's kind of what I said earlier. Like, I think it's such an important question because the industry's changed so much. So understanding why there are still good, talented people who want to kind of commit and do this, like, I think that kind of helps all of us. So what clinched it for you? Like, what was it, an easy decision, or like, did you have like a couple of options for what you wanted to do?
I went to college and studied sports science, but I only lasted 4 months because I was so sick of being stuck at a school table listening to a teacher. And I think that's what it was. I already had the bug for cooking. And then, yeah, I was said to my dad, my mum and dad were going on holiday. I was like, oh, I'll help out in the kitchen for a little while. And then I never went back to college. So it was literally just happened naturally.
Were they supportive? Or did they kind of, you know, try and warn you how hard it is, or?
No, not really. They were all for it. My dad definitely was happy that I was going in to try it. My mum wasn't really bothered. I think they both knew that I was going into the industry, but they just never really wanted to say, or they just let me choose and decide when I wanted to do it.
How is working with family then? Do you get on? Do you not get on?
It's actually just,
I can.
I get that question all the time. No, it's really good. Me and my dad have a really good relationship. We're like mirror image each other when we're working, so we never get under each other's toes. We never argue. I never argue with anyone, to be honest. Just easy.
Never argue.
No.
Oh my God, my dad would drive me mad with if I was with him all the time. I mean, he's lovely.
If I do something wrong, then maybe he's like, he does the disappointed, but apart from that, which sometimes is worse.
Do you think you kind of got, well, obviously you have, but like I think one of the things I found hardest, certainly when I had my own restaurant, is like trying to find your own style. It's really, really tough because as a chef, we learn by, you know, working with others, eating at other restaurants, and then suddenly you're like, cool, what's my style? How are you kind of finding that as a journey? I imagine like Great British Menu, stuff like that's been really positive, but do you feel like working kind of so closely with your dad, you're kind of, do you disagree? Do you like have a sense of style where you want to go, or?
I haven't really found my own style yet. I think I've picked up more on his style of cooking, just, you know, producing really good food, good flavors. I think I'm still quite young, so it's hard to find my own style. Yeah, I think I've still got a few years to go. But everyone changes all the time, don't they? You know, this industry is so, it just changes all the time. It doesn't matter what age I think you get.
I guess that's kind of the most, it's what I find exciting.
Yeah.
But, you know, it should be a constant evolution.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's what scares me the most, is stagnating. Like,
yeah.
If I feel like I'm cooking what I was doing 2 years ago, like that scares the shit out of me.
Yeah.
I don't want to be stuck in 10 years cooking the same.
No, you want to evolve, change, keep it interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. And then like, I don't know, you definitely get that point, don't you, there, where you have those guests and they're really sweet and they're really lovely, but you change anything, like you change the thickness of the paper used in the menu and they're like, the menu's changed, hasn't it? So there's this kind of pressure, but no, I'd be shocked and frankly, you know, impressed beyond belief if you're like, oh yeah, this is my food style. Like I don't think until the last probably year and a half, 2 years, I've had any sense really of what feels organic.
Yeah.
I actually think lockdown was really good for that, because I'm the kind of person where like I'm not very good at doing and thinking at the same time. I have to have my thinking time. Otherwise I'm just absent-minded, which doesn't go well. Like, so I think that's kind of been good. Like, obviously there's hard stuff, but like, how do you think there were kind of positives for you over the lockdown?
Yeah, definitely. I think us as a family definitely took a step back and made us think, you know, that we needed a better work-life balance, which is what we've tried to bring in with opening the new restaurant, is, you know, still getting days off and holidays and just making sure that we're not always working flat out, really.
How did you find doing takeaways?
To start off with, it was a bit unsure. It was just trying to, like, tubbing up food is so time consuming. It's surprising. The cooking's fine, it's just the tubbing up. It takes so much time, and I don't think people realize just putting food into a takeaway box, it's actually quite a lot of work.
Definitely. We did 3 or 4, and I think by the 4th one I was like, I don't think we can do this anymore. Like, I dream in tubs and like tiny little kind of you know, piping bags, and it becomes a bit of a factory, I think. Definitely melts the brain. It
was a good experience, and we know we can do it if anything bad was to happen again. Hopefully no more lockdowns now, but yeah, at least we know what to expect if it was to happen. We can just set up a takeaway business and it can tickle along. It keeps us out of trouble then.
Georgia, obviously you said you are still young, you are a young chef, so I want to know, what's your kind of take on the way the industry is at the minute? There's a lot of things that have exploded about environments that are pre-you, so historically, you know, kitchens and how they worked and behavior and how people were treated, and you know, you can't avoid that within this industry. That's what people are talking about. So what's your kind of view on it? And as a young chef, what would you do going forward to make sure that change happens?
Yeah, there is a lot of negative, I guess, towards the catering industry about how hard it is. And obviously, especially back in the day, it was seen as a really tough industry. I've never really experienced anything to, I knew it was a hard industry, but I've never felt uncomfortable or like I don't want to be in it because it's scary or people are bullying me or bullying other people. And so I've never experienced that. So I don't think I can really pass much comment on any of that situation because I've never seen it. I don't really know, to be honest. It's a bit of a hard question to answer.
I think it's a hard question, full stop, really.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's sort of lovely to hear that you've, obviously your experiences and your formative experience have been good, because I guess that I think is part of the problem, right? Like, if all your experiences have been good and on the basis of sort of respect and sort of, just been a decent human being.
Yeah.
And I feel like that sort of sets you up for, that's the standard you expect, that's how you'll work.
Yeah.
I guess it's, the challenges now are, I mean, I've never been, a particular hellraiser, I don't think, but like I look back when I was younger and I go, definitely there were times where, I was ruder than I had to be.
Yeah.
I was kind of bolshier than, than I had to be. And I kind of look back at that and I've reflected a lot, like with all that kind of chat. And I'm sort of like, do you know what? I think part of the problem is that when you first enter a professional kitchen, it is a bit of a kind of, it's a shock to the system, right? Like the big shock. I mean, in particular, so I worked as an accountant for a year before I joined a kitchen. So it was a real shock. But, and I guess, you look at Ramsay, who's been lauded on TV and sort of made being angry an art form. As a side note, I don't know if anyone watched his quiz show, but that feels like also a terrible thing he's done. Different reason. But, I certainly feel like I look back at it and go, do you know what? Maybe when I was being angry or sort of, effing and jeffing and all the rest of it, maybe that's just because if you don't have a better example set, if it's kind of lauded, if you see it, you kind of go in your head, when you're young and, in many ways kind of have imposter syndrome about it, or you just go, oh, so that's how you do this, right? That's how it works. And like, for me, it's kind of only doubled down, like kind of what you said, Georgie, that if you work in an environment where you haven't experienced it, we can break that chain, and I'm only thankful that like, I never, there's things I can definitely go, I could have probably been kinder or more thoughtful, but I never went that far down that route. But I'm there like, but if the first chefs I'd worked with had set the precedent of, no, this is how we do it and it works fine and the food's still great, doesn't affect the quality of guest experience, you don't have a playbook, right? The only way you understand it is this makes sense, this is how I'm going to do it. I mean, I guess it's just, that's the eternal challenge. I kind of feel like we need to make sure that for young people joining the industry now, they're just not exposed to all this sort of melodramatic bullshit.
Yeah. And just keeping the work environment a happy place. Like, we love to have a laugh. We're still serious, but we love to have a laugh, have music playing, just keeping it enjoyable so that it's not stressful.
Yeah. I mean, I think the food's better for it as well, Really, like, I mean, I don't think I cook well when I'm sad, which might sound
I know what you mean, yeah.
Like, I'll plate something, and sometimes I'll plate it and be like, oh man, you're not feeling good. That's a sad plating. And like, I don't know if it's empirically accurate or I'm just insane, but like, I kind of feel like it's that bigger picture.
Yeah, definitely.
I think we all agree, like, if the produce is amazing, your food will follow through. But I kind of feel like maybe if your team are happy, that's just as important as an ingredient.
Yeah, definitely.
And even if we're not at a point where you get accolades for just being a nice human being, I guess that's kind of just as bigger influence.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I agree completely.
You have a solution, Cara. You've asked us. We've had to think about it.
I wish I did. I mean, for me, obviously, I haven't. I talk to you guys and I write about you guys, but I've never actually worked the full time in a kitchen. So for me, I have to kind of. That's why I ask the questions, because I want to understand, where it's all coming from. And like you said, it's nice to hear Georgia say that she's never experienced that. It's nice to cut amongst the negativity and hear someone say, the kitchen should be a nice, fun, creative environment, and people should enjoy wanting to go there. I mean, with all jobs, you want to enjoy going to work. If you get that, I think you're very lucky. So it's to think about there's people in the past and currently that feel so uncomfortable at work. It's not a nice thing to think is going on, is it? So I suppose that's why I asked the question, to Georgia, because she is younger, and you've already touched on the staff issue. It's all this negativity. It's not encouraging to the next generation of chef, is it?
No.
How have you found staffing? Like, have you been okay for kind of?
No, we've always struggled with staffing. Really, I think most places now more so are gonna struggle for a while. I don't think anyone knows what to do really, apart from just hope that there's some people still around wanting to come into the industry.
It will play catch up, but I think it's actually it's kind of like I said to Cara, because I've deliberately picked kind of quite an eclectic list of people who was like, look, I reckon we should talk here, but I actually think we need to be kind of more diverse in the kind of chefs and careers that we talk about, because you want people to see people which they can relate to, right?
Yeah.
And actually, like, whilst all the guests that have been on Grilled, like, it's a really great lineup, but you go, as a young person, I want to see people kind of who've made that choice recently, or I want to see kind of not just a very particular kind of successful white male succeed, because that doesn't speak to them. And I actually think, like, your point around like positivity seems to be kind of a pretty important thing for you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I sit here wondering, like, well, maybe that's what those of us who are now struggling have done wrong, right? Because I spent years of being grumpy, and you kind of go, well, that doesn't necessarily scream to someone, your life could be like this. Would you like this? But I think, that kind of positive voice of no, like, it can be, because I still think it is sort of the best and the worst job in the world.
Yeah.
Like, challenge anyone to do like, a full service where the food's going out like absolutely on point and guests are loving it and your team are kind of in their rhythm and groove. Like, it is the best feeling in the world.
Yeah. You get like a high from that, don't you?
Like, it's just, euphoric. And obviously there is no highs without lows, but I think we need to kind of maybe talk more about the positives, but also just show there isn't a single way of doing it, because I think that's what's taken me years of unlearning. And even like GBM, I guess, to a point, was kind of, that was really interesting, because you don't normally get that many chefs cooking that kind of food in one room.
No.
And you're like, okay, cool, everyone's literally just doing it totally differently, particularly, in my round, you're like, there's even some of the same kind of ingredients or same sort of like end result, and there's a million different ways. And I guess when you kind of let go of that belief that there's only one way to do any of it, it becomes easy to kind of hear your voice and not every other voice, because my God, there's a lot of voices in the industry. There's even people that don't work in kitchens who just ask the questions.
Yeah.
Georgia, why do you love the industry? What is it that you love about it?
I love all of it, really. I love the fact that we can make someone's lunchtime or evening just by producing a really good meal, service, just that whole aspect that we can bring a smile to someone's face and that they can relax and enjoy a meal without having to worry about anything else. I think that's really more why I do it.
What do you think you would have done if you hadn't I know you said you did sports science, but I'm assuming that wasn't, like you said, that wasn't for you. What do you think? Where do you think you would have gone if if you hadn't have followed your dad? What if your dad had done something completely different and he was never a chef?
Oh yeah. Honestly, I think I would have done something along the design route, because I'm quite an arty and design person. I was in school, I took all the art and design technology, so I think I would have done something quite arty, crafty, along those lines.
Yeah,
I'm not someone to sit behind a desk or it's not for me looking at a computer screen. I think that'd drive me insane.
And what about, do you think there needs to be more women in the industry, or do you think it's just about chefs or front of house? Doesn't matter what gender, we just great people in the industry?
Yeah, it doesn't matter about gender. It would be nice to see more females come into the industry, because there's more now than there was before, but it's still very male dominated. But if you get on with the person that you're working with, whether they're male or female, I don't think it really matters.
And do you think it's that interlinks? I don't know about you, Alex, with the fact that it is a male dominated industry. Is that why some of the negativity that's coming out now is maybe associated with it, because there isn't a mix?
I think it's about representation, really. I mean, it's hard, like we've kind of bizarrely done the full kind of range. So like there was one point actually when the restaurant was probably in a year or so old, where other than myself, we had an all lady team, which I think is probably the exception versus the rule. And it wasn't really through design. It's just I've always tried to hire on the basis of like, are you good at cooking? Which seems to me a far better predictor of whether it's going to be a good role fit than their genitals. That shouldn't be involved in cooking. But yeah, there are times it's frustrating. There are times where we've actively tried to recruit a more diverse team because I want a more kind of expansive way of looking at the world. And as Georgie says, like sometimes, like if the people aren't out there to hire, you can't fix that. But I think we've been lucky, immeasurably lucky, that we've always had 2 or 3 senior managers, whether it's front or back of house, that are amazing, powerful, strong women. And I can only speak from my experience, right? But the insight and sort of the differing viewpoints that having not just 3 blokes who go, lads, it's the reason we're still here, right? Like it's the reason we're still here, and I wouldn't change it for all the tea in China. I think putting too many boys in a room together, particularly when they're primarily between the ages of 20 to 25, it's not a recipe for a wonderfully eloquent or kind of sophisticated discussion. As it stands, we've got all lads in the kitchen at the moment, and honestly, I don't know what's going on most of the time. I'll go in for service and I can't keep up with it. I think kitchens are much better when we've got a full cross section of genders, cuisines, all sorts, and nations. It's one of the things that actually has been a bit shitty about this Brexit success story. One of the things I've always loved about kitchens is, I love traveling. I love kind of like learning about new cultures. And I love that in kitchens, oft times you do get to kind of, you can be cooking with someone from sort of, Iran from one side, Spain that side, an Aussie over there. Like, I love that. And I think, again, it makes discussions around food so much more interesting. And actually that needs to be something we work on, because it's not as naturally occurring anymore after we pretty much declared that we were the greatest country in the world and everyone else should piss off. Unsurprisingly, we lost 2 chefs over Brexit because they were like, look, we're going to go somewhere where it's not a sort of tiny, narrow-minded little island mentality, and you can't argue with it. But no, look, we've spoken a bit about it, Cara. I don't think I'm smart enough to solve it. But I actually think it's asking questions and asking as many people as possible that question. It's why it's on like our hit list for everyone we're talking to. Like the more people tell us their take on it, the better.
Yeah.
And the answer is going to be just having more variety of people talking about it.
Yeah, definitely.
It's not in necessarily, we're not going to get any radical ideas from the same 12 chefs. Because if they had a radical idea, they'd have done it, and we wouldn't be dealing with like the fallout.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it is new voices. You know, like one of the things I'd love to see, and I don't know like whether, Georgie, you've seen it in your kitchen, like I'd love to see us start actually attracting people to hospitality who are like later starters as well. Like not just the idea that you either pick chefing when you're, you know, 16 and that's it. But like, you know, everyone thought I was bonkers when I quit like a big corporate job, because I was like, no, I'm going to have a pencil if I have to stay in this office. But like, why not, right? Like,
yeah, definitely.
Why not, when you hit 30, be like, I want to do something that feels more like authentic than, you know, mid-level insurance management. Not that there's anything wrong with that for any mid-level insurance managers listening. But, you know, I guess, yeah, that's what I want. I don't know how you get there, but I want like a full melting pot. You know, I want everyone to get involved, and you know, that to hopefully be what pushes us forward, but like in a positive way, you know?
Yeah.
I'd rather people see the benefit, you know, like, I don't think the idea of being like, oh, you know, if you don't have this many women working in the kitchen, if you don't have this many people from, you know, these countries working in the kitchen, you're a bad person. Because I think that's not very nuanced. But if instead we can be like, look, you know, if you had all these people in the kitchen, you've got all their experiences that are different from yours, and the food will be better, and your guests have a better experience, and life will be less boring. Like, I don't know, man, that seems to me like that's how we do this. But, you know, I'm also a man who answered carbs as the one thing he'd give up in a spot quiz earlier, Cara, so I don't know if we can listen.
That's going to haunt you, that, isn't it, Alex? Georgia, obviously you're part of a new opening, so discussing this, what you're saying, and like having a diverse team, is that something that you have the luxury of thinking about, or are you kind of, because it's such a you know, a difficult time that we're in at the minute, is that something that you can't really do?
It's not even that. The new restaurant that we're opening is actually quite a small team, and it is pretty much just family. So there's me and my dad cooking, my mum and my sister front of house, and then we've got another one, a guy who's front of house as well, who's been with us for a little while now. So he's part of the team as well. And that's really about it, apart from the odd pot wash and just a few hands. We try to keep it quite intimate, because the new restaurant's called Home. So we wanted people to experience coming to our home, because, you know, where we're most relaxed is behind the stove or serving someone. So our team is very small and just purely all family.
So are you, so people that know, obviously Restaurant James Sommerin, are they going to get something completely different this time around?
Yeah, it's completely different. We've, you know, it's still the same style cooking, just we've tried to take it up a notch and make everything 10 times better than what it was before.
And how much input do you have yourself on the menu? Because do you get a lot of say? You said you and your dad never argue, but I feel like there'll be times where you're like, no, I want my dish.
My dad does ask me a lot, but I'm still so... coming up with dishes still takes me quite a while, so I need more his help to help me push for some ideas more than anything. So yeah, it's just teamwork really. He helps me, and if I have the odd idea, it's like, oh, here you
go. How does it feel to see your first dish on the menu?
Well, it hasn't gone on yet, but it will be exciting.
It's something to look forward to. Alex, what about you when you first got a dish on the menu?
Well, at the time I was excited, but then you have to deal with that dish for the next 10 years. So I should think about it. I did like a kind of beetroot and granola dish, which I thought was dead clever, but I don't know, like, I don't know if maybe this is something that all chefs kind of feel like. I have a very narrow window when I'm satisfied with anything that we've done. And I'm working on it. Because I kind of feel like there's some work to be done on being a little bit more kind of present in the moment. That's the which I think I struggle with. Like, I'm an overthinker. So like generally speaking, as soon as I've done anything, I'm then flooded with like 1,000 thoughts of like, oh, it's shit. Oh, it's not good enough. Oh, you should start again. So, I mean, I really hope that that's not the experience of others, because it's most just existential dread. But it is meant to, like, when you see someone enjoy something which has come out of your head, like, you know, that is still, like, I think a real kick. You know, but I think that's just true about restaurants generally. Like, you know, I love it when people, like, you know, even now, like, I designed some chairs over lockdown, like, because I like furniture. And like when I see them sit in a chair, I'm kind of like, that gives my little, you know, my little head a kind of a happy glow for a little bit. I just think it's mental that if you work in a creative job, if you can think it in your head, you can then go away and actually make that thought into something that you get to share with people every day. That sounds really cheesy and really shit, but no, I think it's special. I just think food's a really cruel creative medium to work in, because you're only as good as the last plate of food you put up.
Yeah.
It takes days of bloody work and mise en, and then someone on table two smashes it in 2 mouthfuls, and you kind of go, oh, my art's been eaten. So I think it's a very unique format to work in.
Would you agree, Georgia?
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of work for, like you said, just a few mouthfuls and it's gone. And all that effort, you know, even just when making a stock for your sauces, the amount of time it takes for someone, you know, to say, oh, that gravy was lovely. It's like, gravy.
Isn't that like the worst compliment to
receive? Yeah, it is. Yeah.
You're there sort of doing like, you know, like really looking for like, you know, complexity and richness, and someone's like, oh,
yeah,
have you got any bread, because that gravy is proper nice. You're like, oh, good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So do you think there's very much a kind of a disconnect between people who come to restaurants and the amount of work that goes into what is served to them on a plate? I mean, I feel like some of the boxes and things through lockdown maybe gave an insight as to how much, just a little bit, but of how much goes into kind of one plate of food. Do you think there's still a disconnect? And is that, do you know what, as someone who wants to come and eat, is that they've decided that they are happy to have that disconnect? I don't want to know how you made it, I just want to eat it.
Yeah, I think there is a little bit of that. People don't realize how much work and effort does go in. Maybe they do, I don't know, but you do get some people who just, I think they're coming out because they just want to eat the food. Mm-hmm. They're not worried about how many hours you've been in the kitchen the morning before, or they're just coming out to enjoy. And I guess really that's what we are there to do. We're there for them to enjoy the food. But yeah, there's definitely a disconnect with some people.
I think it's sort of on a business side. I think it's, you know, in a lot of the discussions around, more broadly around kind of working hours, right? Because I think that, you know, there's some stuff we can all agree is kind of like, that's someone not controlling their negative emotions. But working hours, like, I wrangle with that. Like, how do you make the working hours gentle? I don't think you can, to produce this kind of food. And the elephant in the room is that, well, you can. It's just, if you look at like the places that I think do it best, like particularly Nordic regions where they have very strict labor laws, they do have like 3-day weeks for a lot of their kitchens, because that's their 38 hours they can do by law, and that's it. But they have double a brigade. So they have a double brigade, and you're looking at, you know, 500, 600 quid a head. And I think we're going to hit a really interesting point maybe in hospitality, where with these discussions, like the general public, the restaurant guests will want you to be doing the right thing by your team. And it's going to be fascinating, because at some point we're going to have to be like, okay, well, we can do that, but, you know, a la carte's going to be 150 a head, and a tasting menu is going to be 300, 400 pounds a head. And then we can absolutely do it. I don't think it's malevolent, but I think there's a very different value proposition in the UK from perhaps other countries. Like, I think when I've got to eat out in Europe, there's a real pride in hospitality. There's a real respect for it. You know, I feel like in Europe, if you're like, I'm a chef or I'm a restaurant manager or I'm a som, like that means something different perhaps from how it sits culturally here. And again, don't have the answer for it, but I think that's kind of one of the tensions that is much bigger than like, you know, Georgie, myself, or any of the chef. Like, we can't necessarily fix that, but there is certainly for me a kind of a general disconnect generally with how much value is put on the shelf, you know, for eating and drinking. You know, people will spend crazy amounts of money on whatever their thing is. You know, I don't know.
Queen trainers that sit on your shelf.
You want me to burn them? Shall I go get a
Sorry.
I shan't be doing any more podcasts. Yeah, you know, but people do, right? You know, and like even out of my friends, like, you know, I'll try and eat out at somewhere interesting, not always expensive or Michelin, but I'll eat out whenever I can. I think it's important. And I know that like most of my pals, if I was like, oh yeah, you know, we went to have dinner and it was, you know, 300 quid for two of us, they'd be like, oh, nah, that's not worth that. And then you'll be sort of like, you know, but you're happy to spend, you know, 60, 70 quid down the latest kind of indoor crazy golf thing. There's a real disconnect for me about value and kind of respect of ingredient, of produce, of quality. And I think it's not going to be easy to fix. I don't think it's going to change fast, but I still feel like it's not just industry-wide where we have to value chefs more, we have to value team members more, but I kind of think we need to get the general public on side to realize it's a bit of a team effort. Don't know how yet. Obviously, I'll burn the shoes, and after that, we'll see what happens.
Georgia, obviously, you've said why you love the industry. What's your 10-year plan? Because I'm assuming we've got you for another 10 years at least. So,
come on. You're really going to crack out that question?
Oh yeah, I want to know where you see yourself going. Because obviously, you work as part of a family restaurant. Do you think you'd stay within the family, or would you want to branch off and do your own thing?
I think I'm not really one to plan way in advance. So you ask me where I will be in 10 years, I can tell you I don't have any plan for that. I'm kind of a live in the moment person. But you know, we've got the new restaurant, so I'd like to see it achieve, you know, we'd like to achieve our Michelin star back and just keep pushing forward really, and just hope for the best, achieve what we can, and that's all really. Enjoy life, you know, and then yeah, that's it really. Don't really have a 10-year plan.
Is the star very important, obviously, to your dad and the family as a whole?
Yeah, my dad definitely, he'd love to achieve it back, but even us as a family, we want what's best for the restaurant, and just for us to achieve it back, and yeah, just be at that level that we were before. It's like butterfly feelings when you talk about it, or if you achieve it.
How was your first soft night? How did it go?
Yeah, it was good. Hectic. We were still setting up at 5 to 6, and our first guests were arriving. So, but I don't think anyone is ever ready on a first night. So, but tonight is more relaxed already. We feel more ready this time. So yeah, it'll be good.
What menu structure have you got? Like, what, you know, you've been kind enough to come on the show. Why don't you take at least 2 minutes to aggressively sell the restaurant? Go.
Yeah. It's just tasting menu. So we're doing 8-course tasting menu. Everyone will get canapes and little extra bits and bobs as well, and just really good food. Our kitchen is in the dining room, so every table has got a view of me and my dad cooking. So it's a bit like everyone has their own chef's table.
Do you enjoy that, or do you ever just wish that you hadn't got people gawping?
No, we love it. We love the interaction with guests as well. So, you know, we've got chef service, so me and my dad serve nearly all of the food, and then yeah, it's just a nice atmosphere. It's what we've always wanted really, it's just that, because we both like the front of house aspect of it as well, so we wanted to incorporate both front of house and cooking into our everyday job.
I mean, it sounds mint. How many covers is it?
Our Our maximum is 32, but on average it's around the 25 mark.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's the sweet spot, right? You know.
Yeah.
Like I've tried like around sort of 25, 26. That's my sweet spot, like where you can really kind of put the attention and.
Yeah, definitely.
I hate it when you're doing a busy, like, you know, 40, 50, 60 covers and like tables become table numbers, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Not like a guest where you can kind of be like, oh, that's the gentleman wearing the kind of 3-piece suit with a top hat. Like, you know, I prefer that.
Yeah.
So for anyone who's listening who will be booking a table, how do they do it? When are you taking actual bookings?
Our booking system is live now, and it's home app now online, and yeah, just we've got Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook pages. And my dad and myself usually posting about it. We open on the 18th, and then the last 2 weeks in August we're fully booked.
Okay.
And I think September there's only a few dates. I think most of the weekends have gone already. We're only open 4 days, so it's Wednesday to Saturday, so it's quite a short space for people to book. But yeah, so far so good. It's looking promising.
Well, do you know what? It sounds awesome, and it sounds like you're doing it, you know, as a family, very much in your own way.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you will retain. You will retain and re-win your illustrious star, and hopefully do more bits than that. But
hopefully,
you know, if everyone's as happy as you are, then to be honest with you, like, I think that's worth more. I think that's worth more than a star. There's the man who's never going to get one, or constantly, you know, himself, and then you know, see what they come out with, like a Michelin also tried. I'm looking forward to that.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to chat to you, Georgia. Your little ray of sunshine, especially next to the lovely Alex Claridge. Who I don't think I've seen you smile yet. You're going to enjoy the next 4 recordings of this, aren't you? I can tell.
You know, it's going to just be more pain, isn't it, Cara? But
yeah, well, you volunteered for it, so now you've got to follow through. So,
Georgie, thank you so much for coming to chat and tell us your take on the world.
Thank you for having me. It's been real good fun.
Genuinely, like, I think you guys will smash it, and you know, hopefully more people with a kind of, you know, your positivity and drive, and maybe in 6 years' time we'll be able to hire a chef to party, or, you know, find anyone who works hospitality again. But that's positive, Cara.
And on that note, well, thank you both so much, Georgia. Good luck with the opening. Enjoy it. It sounds amazing, and I like. You know, I can't wait to come and see it, because obviously seeing Restaurant James Sommerin, so really want to come and see the next one. So good luck with everything, Alex. I will speak to you again soon. Can't wait. I'm on the edge of my seat. But thank you both.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.